Hi, welcome to Sweets with Susie. Today we're going to be making pomegranate cake. Now pound cake is usually known for being a heavier cake because it uses whole milk, butter, and lots of sugar. But today, to cut back on those calories, we're going to use low-fat buttermilk as well as margarine. The other ingredient that we've added is the pomegranate. Now pomegranates are full of antioxidants. It's a natural way to boost your immune system and help you stay healthy. The first thing that you have to do when you start baking is wash your hands. Now naturally, I've already washed my own, but you at home, make sure your hands are nice and clean. Then you need to get your mixing bowl. I'm using my medium-sized mixing bowl. It should have plenty of room. Let's take these guys out. Now the first ingredients that you have to mix are the sugar and the butter. So I need to go over to my ingredients cabinet. Get my sugar. There we go. It calls for 3/4 cups of sugar. So since I don't have a 3/4 cup measuring cup, I have to use a 1/2 and a 1/4 because that equals 3/4. And dump that guy in. And then the other guy. And then it calls for 6 tablespoons of butter. Or margarine in our case. It comes with 8 tablespoons. So all I'm going to do is cut off this little end on the side. And this one as well. And that should, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cut off these 2 on the side. And then that will leave us with the 6 tablespoons that we need. And then you can just unwrap it and drop it right into the sugar. Sometimes that works out nicely. There you go. Now it's natural for the butter to start clumping up. It's just the way it is. So while I continue to work this out and so it mixes perfectly, I'm going to let you guys go on a short commercial break. See you back in a few. Hi, welcome back to Sweets with Susie. While you guys were away, I finished mixing in our butter with our sugar. So now I have to put the sugar away. The next step is to add the eggs. The recipe calls for 2 whole eggs and 1 egg white. So you take the egg and you hit it firmly against the side of your bowl. And then you pry it apart and dip it in. You can put your shells back in the same bowl. Now you beat this in to the sugar and butter mixture. Make sure you break up all the clumps and get it as smooth as possible. Next it calls for 1 egg white. In order to separate the egg from the egg white, you have to kind of play yo-yo with it. So you're going to crack it open the same way you would the other time, but make sure you keep the yolk inside of the egg. I'm going to wash off my hands again. And now you add this to the other mixture. And put this in the sink for it to be washed later. Alright, so now I'm going to set this to the side and work on the other 2 mixtures. Next you need a larger bowl in order to mix your salt and your flour. I think this size should do. And you need to get your flour. There we go. Now the proper way to measure flour is to spoon it into the measuring cup and then scrape it off with the knife. So we need 2½ cups of flour. Two. and a half. Now we're going to put the flour away and grab the salt. You just need a very small amount of salt, just a dash or two should be okay. You just need to toss it together gently so that the the salt and the flour can mix in completely. Now I'm going to set this to the side as well. The final mixture that you need is the wet mixture. And this is where we're going to use the low-fat buttermilk, again, instead of the whole. And you need 3/4 cup of this. Half. As well as the 1/4. The recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of lime zest. However, it's really difficult to measure that. So you're just going to do about 3 or 4 really good grates of the zest. Fabulous aroma of the lemon is now everywhere inside of my kitchen. It smells so good. And then you need your your vanilla extract. But it comes in these cute little bottles. All you need is 2 teaspoons of that. I'm going to give this just a little mixture. There you go. We're going to bring the other 2 mixtures over so we can combine them. Now, in order to get the right consistency, you want to combine the dry and the wet alternately to the egg and butter mixture. So, while whisking, shake in a little of the flour. And then you want to mix that in completely. And a little bit more of the buttermilk. And you're going to keep doing this process over and over again until both of the other mixtures are used. And then you're going to have one mixture with every ingredient thus far in it. So while I keep doing this, I'm going to send you guys on another commercial break. So we'll see you back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Hi, welcome back. While you guys were away, I was able to clean up my workstation a little bit because I somehow always manage to make a mess with flour. So the last step is to seed the pomegranate and fold it into the mixture. Now, in order to seed the pomegranate, you need to cut off the tops. Now, I cut it in half the wrong way to show you what the inside looks like. So we may lose a few seeds in the process. There we go. It's only one. We can scrape that guy in. Actually, we're just going to put it right into this bowl and then fold them in later. I'm going to get some of them out. Let me try a spoon, see if that's any easier, because I feel like I'm losing some juice. There we go. Now the inner part of the pomegranate is actually really bitter and kind of gross. So the only part that you eat are the seeds. However, all the juice that's coming out stains, like seriously stains. So make sure that you try really hard not to get it on you or your clothes, because then you'd probably be very sad. Now the recipe calls for 2 cups of seeds, which is roughly the seeds from 1 large pomegranate, like this one. So it's really important that you try and get out as many seeds as possible. So try and get some of the pomegranate juice off of my hands. The last step is to get your pan. Forgot where my phone was. You can use the longer rectangular pans, but I'm going to do mine in a circle this time. Now it's very, very important that you use enough cooking spray. There are fat-free and pure oil sprays. However, I use Pam. She's my friend. Now you're going to hold it upright and make sure that you get the spray in all of the corners, because that is where the cake will stick the most. There you go, nice and greased up. Let's put my pan back. My oven is thoroughly preheated. Now all I need to do is put the batter into the pan. So I'm going to send you guys on another short commercial break. I'm going to finish seeding this pomegranate, and then we will put the final steps on our cake. See you in a few. I'm just picking out the very last of the grind left in here. There we go. And now we're ready for the final step in the making of this fabulous cake. Now, like we said before, our oven is preheated. So here's our pan. And then we have to fold in the pomegranate seeds. So that means just little bits at a time. And then you are folding the dough on top of it as opposed to stirring it in. Turning the dough a very pretty purple color. This is making sure you can see the fresh dough that hasn't had the pomegranates in it yet is whiter coming from the bottom. That's why you fold. Let's get the last of these guys in there. Alright, now we're going to do a couple stirs just to make sure everything is thoroughly mixed in. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. Now you're just going to, hopefully gracefully, put it right into the pan. Now, like I said before, you can use a couple different kinds of pans. Typically, a pound cake is a very thick, very tall cake. It's not usually baked in a cake pan, but in a bread pan. But today we are using a circular cake pan because that's the shape that we desire it to end up as. Alright. Now, let's get that out of the way. Just going to spread it around, make sure it's equal on every side. Alright, that looks pretty spectacular to me. There we go. Now we're going to put this in the oven for about an hour until the top is golden brown. And until then, guys, be back in a few minutes.
Good.
Now, it's always important to set your timer. Maybe not a little too high. I usually set mine for about 10 minutes beforehand just to see how it's looking, and then I can remember to put it in for the final 10 minutes. So there it is. It has 49 minutes left to bake, and then it will come out delightful. See you in a little bit. Don't change the channel. Alright, so our paper just went off, so now it's time to check and see if it's ready. It's nice and golden brown right around the edges. So you take your knife, you stick it through right in the center, all the way down. And see how there's no residue? That then means that the cake is done. So you take it out, set it on top. Make sure that you turn off your oven, let it cool, eat, and enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us today while making our pomegranate pound cake. See you next time.